Hello and welcome to Attract More Abundance Now. Today we're really going to focus on the science and energy of money and how we can start attracting more abundance now. I just want to share with you a little bit about who I am. My name is Kitty Coy and I am the Manifestation Mentor. I love supporting driven female entrepreneurs. I work with all women, but really especially supporting driven female entrepreneurs and ambitious women to create the life that they want and especially more abundance of health, wealth, and time. Because I think often those are our three most valuable resources that we have. And I think in a lot of the times, like I know certainly a lot of the people I've worked with and myself, I'm like, I can either have health or wealth, you know what I mean? Or really time or wealth. Because I'm either working like a maniac in my business or I have free time. And so we often think that we can only have one or maybe if we're lucky, two of these things. But rare is the person that actually feels like they can have unlimited abundance in all three of these most valuable resources. And I'm here to tell you that you can. You can have everything you desire. I'll teach you how to start ordering on the universal menu in the way that aligns with you. And I like to say I teach women how to live in the land of and. You can have abundance of health and abundance of wealth, or abundance of health, abundance of wealth, and abundance of time if that's what you desire. I am my greatest superpower in the world. I'm actually a neuroscientist turned magnetic mind coach, which is literally a methodology of teaching the quantum physics and neuroscience of manifestation. And my natural superpower, based on my human design, is I'm really good at taking very complicated things and distilling them into easy to understand bites and actionable steps. That's literally my secret superpower. And so I've done this with quantum physics, human design, manifestation, neuroscience, all of these things that have a lot of information on them, some of which is contradictory, but it can be hard for us to put the puzzle pieces together, but that's my specialty. So I'm happy to share with you the paint by numbers system of manifestation. And my mission on this earth is really to help women live their purpose. And I'm lucky that my purpose is helping other women live their purpose. But I want to live a world where women are financially independent. And no woman ever, if it's an aligned yes for her in something she wants to do, she never has to ask permission, whether that permission is to a partner or to the pocketbook. She never has to ask permission. She can just jump in and do and say yes to those things that are an aligned yes for her. So now let's jump into the content of the presentation now that you know a little bit more about me. Today, we're going to really demystify the challenges that prevent us from manifesting more money. I have a lot of people in my life that say things like, I can manifest great parking spots, or I often manifest free drinks, or, invites to events. Like I was talking to somebody recently and she was like, oh, I'm that person where people be like, somebody bailed and I have a free ticket to the symphony tomorrow. Do you want to go? And she's like, I manifest stuff like that all the time, like beautiful opportunities for free and just being treated, to whatever that is. Or I even hear often that people have manifested a dream partner or a dream house or a dream job. Most of us struggle when we manifest money. And that's because the energy and the beliefs that we have around money make it more complicated. So that's literally what we're going to talk about today is what makes it harder to why is it harder to manifest money over anything else? And how do you shift that to be in alignment with manifesting more money? And also the secret is don't focus on the money. So we'll get there when we get there. And first, I really like to explain things from a neuroscience perspective. So your brain is actually hardwired to survive and not to thrive. And this is really remnants of caveman living, but let me tell you like where it came from and then what that looks like today. So if let's say you're in a tribe, it's caveman times, you're in a tribe and you're all hanging around by the fire and a snake slithers in, bites Dave's ankle and Dave dies. Now, your life and your family's life depends on you remembering exactly what that snake looked like. So your brain is literally programmed to take these tiny little negative facts, like the color and pattern of that snake, and amplify them so you never forget them. which I mean, very good if you have a short hunter-gatherer life. It lived and survived longer, but the people that magnified the negative facts the best are the ones that survived. So evolutionary, our brain is designed to take these tiny little negative facts in our life and amplify them and make them feel world life ending. And so what that looks like today is, generally speaking, your life is probably, or let's say in the good times of our life is about 80% positive and about 20% negative. Well, because your brain is hardwired to amplify the negative by 3 times, that 20% negative suddenly feels like 60% negative. And so even when times are good, it still feels like there's all these negative things going on because our brain is hardwired to tune into those facts. And let's say you're actually at a struggle point in life and your life's about, I don't know, 50% good and 50% bad. Well, that 50% negative will actually feel like 150%, and it'll feel like crushing and overwhelming negativity going on in your life because of how your brain is designed to look at these problems and really focus on them and amplify them. So this, the remnants of caveman living in our brain that makes us focus on the negative really locks us in a place, especially when we're just surviving with money, or we're practice living paycheck to paycheck. Or we're starting to grow a business, we're just not there yet, so it's not making as much money as we're putting out. Well, your brain's going to look at those facts and make it overwhelming, and like the feelings that are associated with that are going to feel like crushing, and it's just your brain clinging to these negative facts for survival. And if your brain is clinging to these negative facts, it's also your brain has, I'll say this again later, but your brain has two jobs, your subconscious mind: keep you safe, which means alive, and prove you right. And we're going to talk about how both of those things are great and can hurt you when you're talking about trying to manifest more money. But when your brain is proved to keep you safe and alive, safe is whatever you've survived before. So if you had a narcissistic partner at one point, now having a narcissistic partner is safe in the future because you survived, or maybe toxic shame or things like that. So anything you've survived, even if it's abuse or something you don't want, is now programmed as safe in your mind because somehow you managed to survive. So your brain will actually repeat the past again and again and again and put you in situations that'll put you kind of, or very similar situations of where you were in the past, because it has coded that as safe. So your brain wants to keep you stuck. It wants to keep you exactly where you are right now, repeating the past and mapping it on the future again and again and again. So if we want to receive more abundance, there are three main areas we want to work on. And we're going to talk about this one today: how to reprogram your brain for more abundance. The other way to receive more abundance is to increase your receiving container, the amount of good you allow yourself to have. We all have a glass ceiling on that, for whether it's love or money or whatever. We have ceilings on all of them of how much good we allow ourselves to have. So if you can increase the amount of good you allow yourself to have, you can manifest more in alignment with what you desire. And we want to calm your nervous system. You manifest from your nervous system and your emotions as the primary driver. So even if you're doing everything right and you're in alignment, if your nervous system is fried and you're burnt out, it's going to be really hard to manifest money. So we want to work on calming your nervous system in those situations. Today, we're really going to focus on how do you reprogram your brain. But I do have another talk that's really focused on calming your nervous system. So I do free webinars all the time. Feel free to tune in for my one. I forget what day, but it's in August. So now let's talk about how your brain filters information. So remember, I said the number 2 job of your subconscious mind is to prove you right. Well, whatever you believe is what's right to you. So your beliefs, your limiting beliefs and your fears are, your brain looks to prove them right in your environment naturally, unless you learn how to shift your brain's filter. So let's talk about what that means and give you some good examples. So we can only see 0.000003% of all information that's present in this moment. because each proprioceptive skin cell on your body is sending information to your brain about the texture of my clothing, my necklaces that are rubbing on it, the temperature of the room. My eyes are sending a ridiculous amount of information on all the colors I can see. What can you hear? Taste, smell, physical sensation. Then you have your emotions, your intuition, and any extrasensory perceptions. So basically, all of that is flooding information with your brain in any given moment. And so, to prevent overwhelm, your brain blocks 99.999997% of information. And this is like, have you ever put on a new watch in the first few minutes or even an hour, you're like, oh my God, this watch is so heavy, or it's weird, or you can feel it. And then eventually, because that information keeps coming to your brain consistently, your brain filters it out and then you stop feeling it and suddenly you're naked without it. That is simply the reticular activating system, that's the fancy term for your brain's filter, doing its job to prevent overwhelm. Because if you had to process all of this information, even just opening your eyes, you would be in like a coma, like a catatonic state, trying to process all this information because your brain cannot process as much as it's receiving. So it's amazing that it blocks this information to prevent overwhelm. And another great example is this is the reason why babies don't like shoes and socks, because their reticular activating system isn't formed yet. And so what's happening is their brain is just getting flooded with information and they have no way to block it out. So it is overwhelming to them to have these new sensations. And then eventually they get used to it because that information starts being filtered. And we know these numbers because of a study that happened in the 1950s. And you get in the 1950s, there's 5 billion with a B bits of information per second coming to your brain. If you want to play along in the chat, you feel free to write what number do you think your brain can process in a second? How many bits of information can it process? And I'll give it a second in case anybody feels brave enough to guess a number. So the number is 126 bits per second. So basically, that's why you can only see 0.000003. This is the 126 bits, and this is everything else that's being blocked out of 5 billion. And what's interesting is this study in the 1950s was before smartphones, before the internet, before advertising was a thing. Advertising only existed in magazines and on billboards. And TV was barely a thing. There was like 2 hours, and yes, there was some commercials, but there was like 2 hours of content, and then it went static at night in the 1950s. And so if we had that much information coming to our brains, can you even imagine how much information is coming now, 76-ish years later? Our brains are getting flooded with information at all times. And in fact, there's a really cool study recently where they had, because like you're reading an article, now there's an ad at the top, at the bottom, and both sides, and you can only read like a tiny little bit of your screen. So they had a study where people were being advertised specific things, and they were told the goal was to read the article. And then at the end, and just to really fully comprehend the article, because they were going to be asked questions about it. At the end, the only questions they had to answer were about the ads. And people were like, I don't know what the ads were. And they were like, guess. They had like a 75% success rate on guessing the ads that they didn't see because your subconscious mind is receiving all this information all the time. So, and this is also why I have a picture of a Jeep here, because when I first bought a Jeep, all I could see were Jeeps all over the road. And it's not like when I started thinking about buying a Jeep that there was some secret Jeep owner call, hey, Kitty's going to buy a Jeep. Now we need to go get on the road. No, those Jeeps were always there, but the information wasn't relevant to me. So that information was being blocked out because it was meaningless to me. When I assigned meaning to a Jeep, I wanted to buy it. And I wanted to be right that it was a good choice. I started seeing Jeeps all over the road, which proves to me that I'm right in making the choice to buy a Jeep. So if a lot of information is being blocked from your brain, the $1,000,000 question is, what information is actually making it through the filter in your brain? Like what is the 0.000003% that's making it through? And when we have an unconscious addiction to scarcity, and we all do, in some area of our life. Like I said, and maybe it's money for you. That might be true if you're here. Maybe it's health. Maybe it's time. For me, scarcity of time is my biggest thing I really grapple with. I figured out how to manifest money when I want. And I'm working on creating more spaciousness in my schedule. And so I really think about scarcity of time. So whatever your scarcity that you're actively running, just start using this model. I'm going to use the words and talk about money though. And when we're in this place of scarcity, we're hyper focused on how much, all the bills, all the money going out, and we're focused and we're not looking at the money coming in, or we're seeing money coming in, but it's not enough. We've decided that it's not enough and it's not going to work. And so, truly, because this is what we believe, this is what we've tuned our filter. So we're only going to see the money that's going out, and we're going to have a really hard time seeing the money that's coming in as enough. Or maybe this is an oscillating pattern with money. Maybe we do get a landfall of money, but then the car breaks down, or we, get a bonus at work, and then the washer, the air conditioning breaks or something. And so we have this oscillating pattern with money. And so it's really interesting. We can shift this at any given time because how you shift your brain's filter is building evidence on the mountain you want to be true. And if you're really in a place of financial scarcity, what you want to be true is more than enough money is coming in. So we'll talk as we go along. There is something you can do to shift your brain's filter to that. But without conditioning, without intentional focus, we oftentimes are so focused on all the money going out and not enough coming in. And let's be real, the news and the media are not helping right now, talking about the price of gas and groceries are so expensive and blah, blah, blah. And all of these different things. We are being spoon fed information that reinforce the belief of scarcity, which makes us scared and fearful. So we don't pay attention to what's happening behind the curtain in our government right now. And so when when we're in this place of an unconscious addiction to scarcity, our brain actually blocks us from being able to see the money that's coming in. And what was really interesting is when I was in this place many years ago, I'll save you the story, but I wanted to go on a trip at the very last minute when we were getting ready to hit the buy button on the ticket and the hotel and everything. We chose not to invest in it, and I was devastated. And I was like, I'm going to get really committed to my own financial abundance and really manifesting more money so I can make this trip happen next year because it was a once a year event we were trying to go to. Anyways, I had this belief. I was like, my business, all my payments, besides some random deposits or whatever, if people sign on to a retreat, my regular payments are on the 1st and the 15th. So I would say things like, I only get paid 2 days a month. And that was a belief I had. So I could only see the money that was coming in on the 1st and the 15th. And I started building a mountain of evidence that I was receiving more money. I started just tracking it. And that's, by the way, I'll send you as a resource. I have an abundance tracking sheet, and a bunch of other fun things I'll tell you about later. But I have this abundance tracking sheet, and I started making a note of every penny I found on the sidewalk. When I cleaned my desk and I had 17 cents, and I just started writing down all these things. Or I went out to a networking event and somebody insisted on buying me a glass of wine, or somebody bought me coffee, or all these things where I didn't have to invest. I saved that money. I started to notice because my belief was I only got paid 2 days a month. When I looked back after 2 months, I evaluated and I received money 28 out of 30 days on average across 2 months. There was only 4 days in 2 months I didn't receive money in some way. And because I changed my brain's filter, instead of finding a penny on the sidewalk, I started finding $10 bills. And eventually, if you've heard this story, I started finding $100 bills on the sidewalk. Literally, it happened to me multiple times in different cities and all these places. I just kept finding huge amounts of money in the most mysterious ways because I changed my brain's filter to focus on all of the money coming to me. So not only could I see that money, I could actually receive more money. And I want to give you a real world example of what this unconscious addiction to scarcity does for manifestation. So, scarcity and fear have a frequency of about 100 hertz, and abundance is a frequency of 888 hertz. So, In a visual example, by the way, this is the map of consciousness. I like to call it the color chart of emotion. It's from Dr. David Hawkins. He wrote about it in a book called Power versus Force. And that is a really cool book. I don't have time to talk about how he created it. And I just want to highlight some things. So there's numbers on the left-hand side, and these are the frequency in hertz and of the emotion. So notice each emotion has its own like band or number associated with this. So fear is about 100, and willingness to do something different is 310. Love is 500. Peace is 600. And so just notice shame is 20. There's no such thing as a good or a bad emotion, because they all emotions are our guidance system. We're meant to have these negative emotions because they give us information. And just notice the emotions you probably don't want to be feeling as much are have a much lower number. Shame is 20, guilt is 30, apathy is 50, grief is 75, fear is 100, anger is 150. And so when we're in this place of fear and anxiety around money or worry or whatever that is, we're hanging out at a frequency of 100 hertz. And notice it's hard to see the actual words, but at 500, there's a little box on the left hand side here that it says dissolves negativity. So this frequency of 500 is when you start manifesting amazing things. And so if we want to start manifesting you really consistently, you need to get your frequency, your emotional frequency, the emotions that you practice feeling the most over a frequency of 500. And then you just become this effortless manifesting machine. That's when you truly turn your mind into a magnet, because you're being in this place of love and joy. So you like attracts like, you bring more things in your life that attract love and joy. And so if we're in this place for scarcity, if to make more money, we need to get to love, joy, peace, or enlightenment is a fun and interesting. There's actually like 26 or 28 emotions in enlightenment, including authenticity, and all these amazing emotions are in the frequency of 700 to 1,000. But remember what I said about the frequency of abundance. It's actually 888 hertz. So, and the frequency of gratitude is 900 hertz. So those are only 12 hertz apart in frequency. So anytime you're in this place of anxiety, fear, worry, guilt, shame, anger, whatever those emotions are, and I want you to feel them. We're not talking about a spiritual bypass. Feel them, just move through them quickly. And then when you want to get in this place, gratitude is the answer, especially gratitude for the abundance that you already have will help pull you up this chart towards the 888 hertz. So whatever you believe is what becomes true for you. We just proved that because that's all your brain can see. So if that's all you can see, that's why affirmations and mantras are great. Their money flows to me easily, frequently, and abundantly. I like to say things for like, I get paid to be me. I make money in my sleep. Money comes to me effortlessly. These are all of my mantras and affirmations. So these are all amazing. Money flows to me doing these, and they work on a conscious level. But here's the catch 22. All your money blocks and limitations are on a subconscious level. They're on a different level of your consciousness. So that's why, again, continue with your mantras and affirmations. They're amazing, and they're not enough if you want to really, truly rewire your beliefs about money. Because you can say money flows to me with ease all these times, but if you can't feel abundant, and your feelings are on a subconscious level as well, you're not going to be shifting. Your conscious mind isn't powerful enough to shift your subconscious mind in that way without some additional help. So again, we are in this place of a catch 22. And I like this image of it's like it's a clearly open store, but the sign is closed. That's what we do when either our nervous system is in burnout or we're trying to, shift all of our money beliefs with only using affirmations and mantras. Because your nervous system operates in the subconscious mind, not the conscious mind. So you can say, I'm a millionaire as much as you want. And if you can't feel it, and if you can't calm your nervous system, it's having the sign out, the store is open, but the door is locked and the sign says closed. So if you want to change your brain's filter, this is what we need. And this is what I support my clients in doing. A new way of orienting to the world, which means you upgrade your identity. And we want to shift the deeply rooted belief system to be in alignment with what you want. Because most of us are walking through the world out of alignment. We want abundance, but we're practiced in living paycheck to paycheck or, barely scraping by or, having to save up a lot for the things before we can do them. This is not alignment. If this was a fishing pole, the fancy kind that break in half, this is not going to get you a fish because you have energy going in two different planes. And so if we can get your beliefs and emotions to be in alignment with your conscious desires, that's when you become magnetic. And it becomes like this fishing pole. It snaps into place, and then you cast your wish on the universal. Like I said, I'll teach you how to order the universe. You cast your net out, and then you reel in what you desire. So that is what I mean by getting in alignment. And I mentioned this earlier briefly, but I just want to explain that the two ways your subconscious mind can work against you when you have the unconscious addiction to scarcity, it blocks you from being able to see money, but it also blocks you from being able to receive money because if you believe that you can only live paycheck to paycheck because that's what you're practiced in doing, your subconscious mind will be like, well, great, I'll never give you any more than that because that's comfortable, that's safe, that's familiar to you. And it wants you to be right. And if you're like, I'm not a millionaire, and that's what your belief is, it's great. I'll help you never be a millionaire. So in that way, our subconscious mind actually blocks opportunities for us. And so these, again, the scarcity feelings, when going back to that color chart, when we're at that place of 100 hertz, those scarcity thoughts and beliefs prevent us from receiving money because like attracts like. So when we're in a place of mental and emotional scarcity, we're going to attract more opportunities that keep us in a place of mental and emotional scarcity because like attracts like. So that's why it's so important if we can actually get ourselves to that place of gratitude and abundance, the 888 or 900 hertz, truly giving gratitude for the abundance we already have, because we live in a naturally abundant universe. It doesn't feel that way because that's our belief and our perception. But nature is one of the most abundant things ever. Like you have an infinite abundance of air. You have an infinite abundance of opportunities to go outside and you have an infinite abundance of opportunities to connect with people online or in person. You have an infinite amount of love or an infinite abundance of love from your pets, for your pets, from your family, for your family, from your friends, for your friends. Like we live like it just takes one seed to plant an entire forest. Like nature and our world is naturally abundant. So if we can just be in that energy and frequency of natural abundance, knowing that we are abundant because we are part of the universe, it really supports us in being able to receive more. And again, it's not fake it till you make it. It's truly, can you be in that place where you can be it before you see it? They say that a lot in manifestation, but can you be abundant, feel abundant, even when you only have $5 in your pocket? That is a mastery of manifestation. And so, but here's the biggest kicker, and this bothers me so much when I hear it, and this is natural when we think about what's going wrong. We often look to ourselves and say, what did I do wrong? What's wrong with me that, Sally Joe can manifest a bunch of money and Bobby got his ideal job and I can't seem to manifest anything, or I only manifest bad things, or I can only manifest free drinks, or whatever that is. So when we're not able to manifest with ease, which the next thing we're going to get into is really talking about how to manifest with ease and the blocks we have on that. But when we can't manifest what we want, we naturally think something's wrong with me. So then we start to fix ourselves. So the most dangerous belief system in your personal growth and in your manifesting more money is the idea, when I feel worthy, then I can blank, insert sentence. When I feel worthy, then I'll whatever, whatever. When I feel worthy, then I can receive more abundance. That is the most dangerous sentence you can say in manifestation because it's literally saying, I'm not worthy now. And that's why I can't have what I want. When I feel worthy, then I can have what I want. So not only is that reinforcing the fact that you're not worthy now, which let me tell you, you are, you just don't realize it, or you don't perceive that. And then it also, you could spend the rest of your life trying to feel worthy and never make any money because you're trying to fix yourself. And let me tell you, you're not broken. You're perfect exactly as you are in this moment. And we can shift your mindset and how you look at things, but we don't need to change anything about who you are fundamentally. And I know plenty of people that have manifested millions of dollars that don't feel worthy. They didn't feel worthy, and then they still don't feel worthy because their worth has nothing to do with manifesting money. And you can choose to shift how you orient to your worth and say, I choose to feel worthy. I don't maybe feel it now, and I choose to, but anytime you find yourself in a place where you say, when I feel worthy, then blah 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 blah, or when I blank, then I can have what I want. That is how you know you're in problem solving mindset, and that will 100% of the time block you from manifesting what you actually desire because you're so focused on the worthiness and the worthiness getting you what you want that you're chasing the wrong goal. And you can put a lot of energy towards feeling worthy and still that doesn't shift. So, now let's go through the major challenges and solutions of manifesting more money. This is the meat and potatoes of this talk to really help you understand what might be holding you up. And what's really interesting is the problem definitely is not what you think it is. And because most people are like, I need to fix this thing about me, or I need to let go of my trauma, and then I can have what I want, or insert sentence. We always assume that there's something wrong with us, and then we can manifest more abundance. And that's simply not true. The problem about attracting more abundance is that money needs an assignment. And money just going to go sit in a retirement account and there's not, I love the idea of retirement and investing. I'm not saying don't do that. But when you're like, I need to pay off my debt. Also, what are you focused on? You're focused on debt, not abundance. So that's a whole other thing. But you're focused on getting rid of something instead of what you want to create. But money truly needs an assignment. And you know what's so amazing is I often find this actually happens like 25% of my clients. Like, for example, I'll have women sign up for a retreat months in advance of them actually doing anything with me. I had women sign up for my retreat in January 2026. My retreat was actually just last week. And I have them take assessments over time and 25% of the women from January to April, we started doing things in April and started building a community. From January to April, 25% of the women automatically created more abundance. You know why? They had a reason they wanted to pay off this, they wanted to go to this retreat and they had a reason for that money to go to. So that's why people will often say it's easier to manifest like a vacation or something like that because your money needs an assignment. And we think we know what we want, but honestly, after working with women for 10 years, most of us actually don't know what we want because what we think we want is the opposite of what we don't want. Meaning we want abundance because we don't want to be broke. We want love because we're lonely. We want health because we don't want to be sick. So a lot of what we think we want is just a reaction to something we don't want, and you can never manifest a reaction because it's not something you actually want. And oh, I already just gave this example, but it's really fascinating when we dig into the why we want the things we want. You have to get to a crystal clear desire. And the reason why people have challenges manifesting money is you don't actually want money. If you wanted money, you would want money for the act of swimming in a swimming pool of money. You want money because you want to rub it all over your face. We don't want that. We want money because of what money's going to get us. And so money in and of itself is an illusion. And that's why when we're focused on making more money, we're chasing an illusion. And because it's not the money we want, it's the dream home. It's whatever money's going to get you. That's what you actually desire. And in this way, money's an illusion because we go after money saying things like, money, if when I manifest this money, I'll feel safe, I'll feel stable, I'll feel secure. And we'll talk later about the 7 things you can never manifest. That's 3 of them. And so we chase money because we think money will make us feel happy or life is easier. And while that's true, if you don't know where your next meal is coming from, having money does take a lot of stress off your life. But for the most of us, we think money is going to make us happy, but it doesn't actually change anything. I mean, we might be able to upgrade some situations in our life. It might make things a lot easier. And money can't make you feel safe. Money can't make you feel stable or secure. That's an illusion. Money can't make you feel anything. And if you want to manifest more money, you have to find a way to feel safe, stable, and secure already. But we'll get there in a minute. So you want whatever money's going to get you, and it has to be a real desire, something you want because you want it and no other reason. So that's why I have a picture of a sailboat. Is that I talked about that trip that I really wanted to go on was a sailboat adventure sailing around the Greek islands, and I wanted to sail around Greece because I wanted to sail around Greece. The end. There was no, it didn't, there was, it's not because I would feel safe or stable or secure. There was no reason I wanted to do it because I wanted the experience of having it. That's how you know it's a real desire. And when I was working on it in 8 months, I manifested $14,000 above and beyond what I was expecting in my business. Well, sorry, above and beyond what I was expecting. 8,000 of it came from my business in 8 months. I basically made an extra $1,000 a month. But here's the interesting thing. Remember how I started talking about how money came to me every single day when I was looking? I manifested $6,000 in sidewalk money and all these crazy, unbelievable ways. And so, but that's because I had this real desire. And I was like, I'm going to fund this trip. I'm going to find a way to do it. What are all the amazing and creative ways I can make money? So I had a woman that she needed some support in her business very temporarily. I had the time to give. She paid me very kindly. And then when I was done and I made all my money, I handed that opportunity to another woman because the lady continued to need help in her business and that person wasn't me anymore. So, but it's because I had this real desire. I really wanted to go to Greece because I wanted to go to Greece. So, what do you actually want is the most important question in manifesting. And stop focusing on the money. Money is just an energy. And so when you're focusing on the money, when you're super focused on the money, you're either coming from a place of like scarcity, like, oh, I don't have enough money. That's why I need to focus on my money super hard. Or you're focusing on like the hoarder. Like there was a time where I didn't have enough money. So now I need to, hoard every penny. And what's really interesting is I knew a financial planner and she said that she knew a guy that had about $5 million dollars in liquid assets. Like, I mean, he had $5 million dollars in the bank and he was so stressed about money. He called her every time he went to the grocery store and said, can I afford my $600 grocery bill today? She was like, yeah, you can. Because he was so focused on the money because of the money trauma he had. He was like a dragon. He built his hoard of gold and then had to hold that. But one of the things I want to say is when you're really focused on the inflow and outflow of money, you're actually kinking the hose. Abundance wants to come to you, but when you're looking at it through a microscope, you're kinking the hose on abundance. And what I found is money was actually coming to me in all of these amazing ways. I just couldn't see it because I had binoculars on looking at just this one channel, making money in my business, not realizing that people were giving me money almost every single day in the most interesting ways. So you don't want money. And the question is, what do you really want? So this is a great and easy way to get to this. And feel free to play along in the chat. I would love to hear the answer to this question. If you won $1 million today, what would you do with it? There's some caveats though. You cannot pay off debt. Just assume your debt is paid off and then you have $1 million. You can't give it away to another human being or to a charitable cause. And you can't invest it. And by invest it, I love it. By invest it, I mean you can't put it in a bank account or a retirement account or a stock. If you wanted to invest for how I would spend it, I would invest in a marketing team for my business. But that's me investing in my business for myself. That's not me investing. It's when I say you can't invest, I'm just talking about a bank account. Love it. We've got travel with the world with family and friends. The more you know exactly where you want to travel, like we're going to go to Japan and then we're going to go to South Africa to do a safari. And then we're going to do like the more clarity you have, because like travel is vague and it puts it still in the future. If you want to orient to something like this is working with your vision, you make it real and you just guess places. Like what are places you would always want to go and just assume your family and friends want to come along. And so for me, I want to see the Aurora Borealis in Iceland. I really want to go to South Africa and drink a bunch of delicious wine and go on safari. And then I would love to live on a houseboat in Amsterdam for a while. So like get clear and specific. The Cherry Blossom Festival in Japan. Yes, love all of that. Okay, great. And if anybody feels like sharing, you actually don't have to share in the chat. I encourage you to if that feels right. Just know, what would you do with $1 million? And what's interesting, I actually haven't had this response a lot, but somebody looked at me actually just a couple weeks ago and said, $1 million, I would buy a house. That's it. And like, And I was like, oh, well then what would you do with $10 million? So if one of your thoughts was, oh, $1 million, that's one house or whatever, one really great vacation for 20 people or something, then make it 10 million so you can start to add this up. And so I love it. Moved to Portugal and Spain, have a sound bath center, do classes. I love host retreats, buy an RV. And then we got some specific trips listed out, a cottage big enough to host my family and take care of foster kids. Great. Those are all what you really want. Because however you answered this question, that's what you want. You don't want money. And when you think about the money, you actually block your energy and connection to the thing. So I love the example of the sound bath center and with classes and a villa with a beautiful view and a place to host retreats. Well, great. How can you start living that now? How can you start hosting retreats now, even if you don't have the $1 million villa? How can you, and I already know that you do have a sound bath center and teach classes. And so like, how can you do that even more? Because the more you can find that you already have a tiny slice of pie, if not a big slice of pie, you're already doing a little bit of what you want to do. Like, for example, if what you want to do is travel internationally, but that's not in your budget right now, could you travel around your state? Because if you can travel around your state, you are actively traveling. You're living the life of someone who travels regularly. And which is this is how I did it. We started when my business was up and coming and I didn't have a lot of money to invest in travel. We started saying, well, what's within an 8 hour drive of Denver that we want to go to? And we started road tripping all the time. Like once a month, we went out and did things. And we started actually hanging out in like within the city we live in and going to visit museums and stuff that we hadn't been to since we were children. Because what travel means to me, why I want to travel, like when I look into that, I want to have new experiences. I want to meet people I wouldn't have otherwise met. I want to eat foods I haven't eaten before. I want to taste wine or whatever I haven't tasted before. And I just want amazing adventure and experiences. Well, I can do that in my own city. There are a million different places and things I could go and do. And so when I started living that life saying, oh, I travel and adventure regularly, it's in my backyard and I travel and adventure regularly. That was a really powerful way to shift. And I started making more money and then I started traveling farther and farther away. And now I host international retreats. Like I have a retreat coming up in Mexico in it's like, oh God, 50 days or something like that. It's coming up soon. So just know, however you answer this question, this is the most important question you can ask yourself because it's what you really want in your life. And I want to be clear that there are 7 things that you can never manifest, no matter how hard you try, because they're all illusions. None of them are real. And it's because you cannot manifest abundance from scarcity. And the sheer act that you want to manifest these things, which is why it's important to know, why do you want to manifest? Like, I want to manifest a time in, staying on a houseboat in Amsterdam because I want to do that. I have a bunch of things I want to manifest besides travel. And it's important to know, why do you want that? Like, why is that thing important to you? So take the sound bath center. Why is that important to you? And dig in, just to see, because oftentimes when we write down what we want, it's really easy for these 7 things to come up. And so it's important to know why you want what you want. So if you wrote down error, like if you come up with any of these things, you know that you feel like you don't have them because you can only you only want comfort if you're feeling uncomfortable, is what I'm trying to say. So here's the 7 things you can never manifest because they're all illusions: comfort, control, freedom, independence, safety, stability, security. I'll give you a minute to either take a screenshot or jot those things down. But the sheer fact that you say, I want freedom, means you feel that you're not free. And if you have to feel these feelings first. You have to feel like you have, and you have to notice the places in your life, and you have to feel free to have freedom. You can't manifest freedom because these are all illusions. And that is the biggest thing, is we're chasing money because then it'll give us or we're chasing love because it'll be stability. We're chasing money because it gives us security. We want this because it'll make us feel control. All of these things are illusions. And so you can never have that. You can have authority of your life, but if you feel like you're like, oh, right, I am the master of my destiny, you don't say, oh yeah, I really want to manifest more control. So these are the 7 things you can never manifest. So we'll keep rocking and rolling through the next reasons of why it's hard to manifest money. So you think you need money first before you can have what you want. So this is a big kicker around money is again, money needs an assignment. Sometimes when you have a big desire, like you really want to go to a retreat and all you have is the deposit and you don't have anything else, well, that's a great reason for money to come to you to fill that assignment. And so if you wait to manifest all the money first before you sign up for the retreat, you've lost the opportunity and you may never manifest that money. But we believe that in order to have like a balanced budget or in order, and I'm not trying to give you financial advice. I'm not saying spend money you don't have if that's not aligned for your financial situation right now. And I could give you mountains of evidence time and time again for myself and my clients where, we're like, okay, we're doing okay. And we invest in something big. Like I just recently invested in a $10,000 training for myself. And at the time I was like, well, this is going in a credit card because I did not have $10,000 in the bank. That's kind of what I'm saying. And I know in my heart, it's an aligned yes for me. And I've been making a lot of money. That credit card is already half paid off. And it's only been since Memorial Day weekend. And I've been able to put $5,000 towards that because money had the assignment. So you don't need to make the money first before you can go after your dreams. Sometimes you just signing up for something is actually allows you the opportunity to manifest more money. But I kind of hinted at this earlier. Get creative and where can you have it now? If what you want is travel, think about what's important to you because I realized I asked somebody this question once and they're like, "Oh, I don't like to adventure when I travel." They're like, "I like to go to spas and like rest and relax and recuperate." And I was like, "Great. You could do that at home." You know what I mean? Or you could go to your friend's backyard and have a spa day. And like you don't need to go to a real spa to like have a makeshift spa day. So whatever it is, I guarantee you can have it now and you can find a way. So if what you want to manifest is a lake house, you could go Airbnb and stay at lake houses. You could find a friend with a lake house. You could look at pictures of a lake house online and just daydream about yourself sipping coffee on the balcony overlooking this beautiful lake. So I guarantee you can find a way to have what you want right now. And we spend so much time chasing the money first that we don't even go for our dreams. And if you spent even half as much energy going for your dream as you did to chase the money, you would have a lot more of your dreams already completed. We spend so much time chasing money or I need XYZ to be this way or perfectionism or whatever it is. We chase other things instead of our dreams. So if you just put energy in the direction of your dream and where you want to go, your dream will start showing up for you in these tiny, sometimes it starts with baby steps and sometimes you manifest absolute miracles in your life, but you don't need the money first. The third is that we don't have the identity as a wealthy person. I know that because if you had the identity as a wealthy person, you would identify as I'm truly a wealthy person. You probably wouldn't be watching this webinar. Although wealthy people are always looking for ways to make their money or have their money make more money. So we don't yet have the identity as somebody who is like rich. And notice the words of filthy rich, dirty rich, like all these negative connotations. So I encourage you shifting your language completely around money. But if you had the identity of a wealthy person, you would be wealthy. And so focus on where you have what you want already, very similar to what we talked about in the last slide. And so that's where the abundance already gratitude practice. I mentioned we have an abundance of air. Have you ever felt gratitude for the infinite abundance of air? I know that's a weird question, but the practice is you actually feel the feelings of gratitude in your body. You're like, oh my God, the one thing I cannot survive even 3 minutes without, I've never had to worry about in my entire life. Like that's abundance. And feeling gratitude for the abundance of air, feeling gratitude for the abundance of love, feeling the gratitude for the abundance you have already is one of the best practices I did in shifting my abundance. And then the abundance tracking sheet. That $14,000 I manifested, all I shifted was these two practices. That's it. And I made $14,000 in or really started with this. Then I started attracting more opportunities to heal my money story. I did a couple other things, but this was the majority, the bulk of what I did. So there's the tools, and I'm giving them to you at the end of this call. And it involves tracking every penny. There's instructions on the sheet, but it's literally every time you receive abundance, it is proof that you're receiving more abundance. So, reason number four why we block ourselves from receiving money is we think that having money will change us. And the biggest block is on money is that you get what you subconsciously believe you deserve, not what you want. You get what you believe that you deserve, not what you want. And then we try and fix ourselves so we can feel better and believe that we want more. And again, that just puts us in a spiral. We chase our tail of trying to deserve money instead of just going for what we actually desire. So it's just a repeating because it is this important. Anytime you think there's something wrong with you, and when that thing is fixed, then you can have what you want, you've blocked yourself from manifesting because that is a problem solving mindset that will manifest nothing but more problems that will block you from having what you want because that's the frequency, that's the energy that you're in because you believe that there's something wrong. When you fix the thing, then you can have what you want. When I lose the weight, then I'll do the boudoir photos. When I retire, then I can travel. Like when I have the money, then I can invest, then I can host a retreat or whatever that is. When I'm confident in my business, then I'll make more money. It doesn't matter what you put in the when then sentence. The idea is there's something about you that's wrong or needs to be fixed, and that literally blocks you because you're just going to try and fix yourself. So please know that you're so divinely perfect in this moment. And there's all we need to do to help you manifest more money is just to shift how you see things, how you look at the world, shift your perception around money, shift your relationship about money. That's all you need to do. And then you can manifest more money. But you don't need to change who you are because you're perfect. And so, and again, the reason why the when then statement, when you fix this, then you can have what you want, is you're focused on the problem. When I pay off my debt, then I can blah, 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 blah. Well, what's the major noun in that sentence? Debt. You're focused on the problem, not on the solution. And there's a really big difference when you are focused on the problem and trying to fix the problem or get rid of the debt. That is very different than I want to go to Greece because I want to go to Greece. Very different energy and very different focus in your and when you're focused on trying to get rid of something you don't want or fix a problem, you're either never fix that problem or you'll just manifest another problem because what you're focused on is problems and roadblocks instead of what you actually want. So, in summary, how to reprogram your brain. Step one is figure out what you really want. This is a true desire, something you want because you want it. Program your brain to find it in your life right now. And gather evidence that it's already happening for you. Like you're already receiving abundance. That's why the abundance tracking sheet is so powerful because it's programming your brain that you already have it. And notice the synchronicities that come up in your life. Like when you're like, I could tell you amazing stories. And again, it's a lot easier to manifest free drinks or whatever. But I was in Mexico and we were on this beach and in front of an all-inclusive resort and this whole thing. But we were like renting, we did not have the bracelets for free drinks. We were like renting the palapa and just staying there. And I was like, I saw this like waiter come over and I was like, I just really want a margarita right now. Like, how great would that be? But at an all-inclusive resort, you can't like walk up and pay at the in this situation. I couldn't just walk up and pay in the bar. If you were not in the all-inclusive resort or didn't have the like full day pass, and was like, I don't want to pay $100 to get a margarita. Basically, it was the situation. I was like, I really wish I had a margarita right now. Oh well, it's fine. And I'm laying on the beach, and a waiter walks up with two margaritas to the people next to us, and they're like, "Oh, we ordered pina coladas." The waiter was like, "Well, would you drink these?" And they're like, "No, we don't drink tequila." Waiter turns around and says to me and my husband, "Hey, do you want these two margaritas?" Like literally seconds later. I noticed synchronicities like that I was like, "Oh, look at my instant manifestation of two free margaritas." And then improve your relationship with money is really the next step to reprogramming your brain. And I would love to offer you an opportunity for free to reprogram your brain because neuroscience is the answer of how to get there faster, easier, and funner. Because I would love for you to truly feel like you are a money magnet. So I'm going to give you, this is a recording I've created. I'm going to give it to you for free. And so it permanently improves your relationship with money using an NLP process called perceptual shift. It's sometimes called the three-chair process. And it helps release old beliefs, old thoughts, old emotions around money. So you actually upgrade, you truly improve your relationship with money forever. And it changes how you think and feel and orient to money. So I'm going to email you a recording with the recording I'll get it to you either later today or tomorrow, depending on my schedule. With this recording, you're going to get all of the abundance tracking sheet, all of my tips for manifesting more money, and this workshop or this webinar. And it's not a webinar, just a recording that helps you manifest more money. So, with that, I hope you enjoyed today. It is honestly, if you can't tell how passionate I am about this subject, you haven't been paying attention. So, it is honestly my honor and pleasure just to share this information with you and to support as many driven women as possible in improving their relationship with money. So I encourage you, I put these on YouTube. Feel free to share these resources with anyone, even if they're not women and even if whatever. I just want to put goodness in the world because I am passionate about this and I love supporting people. And so if you would love support in building the identity of a wealthy person, reprogramming your brain for more money, shifting your emotions and calming your nervous system to manifest more money, I would love to support you in that process. I offer a free 30-minute manifesting machine discovery call. And I'm not kidding about limited spots available. I have exactly 4 spots in my calendar until now. And you need to complete the call by July 31st. I don't know where my brain is. July 31st. So if you want to scan the QR code, I'll also drop the link in the chat. And I'll pause the recording and answer any questions. I just appreciate you guys for being here today. Thank you so, so, so much. So I'll stop the share. I'll pause the recording. And then I would love to hear